Today in this video we are going to see how I can set up an unattended robot in a easy and a quick way into my UiPath orchestrator. Hi everyone, welcome back to the next videos on the what, why and the how series. Today we are going to see how do you set up an unattended robot in a easy way, right? Why do I say easy way? Because in the previous video we have already seen a different way of setting up an unattended robot. Now UiPath has introduced a new technique. That is what we are going to see in this video. My name is Mukeshkala. I am a 4 times UiPath MVP, certified solution architect and also a LinkedIn top voice. Let's connect on LinkedIn and I would be happy to be part of your network. Also, you can scan the QR which you see on the screen to join our YouTube channel WhatsApp community. Lastly, in case you are coming to the channel for the first time and haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the next videos in the same playlist. Having said that, let's get started. Okay, so I am into my cloud account of UiPath, cloud.uipath.com. In case you don't have the same interface into your enterprise or into your customer environment, please do refer the previous video which I have showcased how do you do it in a different kind of environment with a different way. Okay, this one is specifically for the community users. Okay. So as you can see, I am on my cloud account, cloud.uipath.com. The first thing is, in your account you need to have the UiPath license, right? You need to have an unattended license. How do I validate that? Okay, once you are in the cloud account, you just have to go to these 9 dots, okay, and you scroll down to find the admin. Okay, so into the admin section you have to look for the tenant which you are working on. I am into this one which is the default tenant. I go to the default tenant and then you see there is a section which says licenses, which says manage license allocation in this tenant, right? This is my tenant. Okay, so I click on that and you can see here I have one production unattended robot. This is what I am going to utilize into my automation or into my orchestrator, right? In case it is not available here, you can go into the edit allocation and from here you can allocate it. Okay, so this is the first thing, guys. You need to have a production unattended license which you can utilize to run the automation into unattended mode. In simple words, even if I lock the screen, the automation should run. Okay, so first thing first, we have validated that I have an unattended license into this tenant which is TBMK and into the default tenant. Okay, now with that, let me just go to the UiPath Studio. Into the UiPath Studio, I am going to create a small process which we are going to deploy and try to run it in an unattended mode. Okay, so I'll quickly go here and I'll create a new process and then I will call this process as, let's say, sample underscore unattended underscore process. Okay, and I just say create, right? I'm not doing any much automation. We are just going to create a simple automation so that you guys are able to relate it to your actual automations. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'll quickly go and add some activities, log message activity, so that we can validate it in the orchestrator. Okay, so I'll just go here, I'll say info and I'll just add something like that. This is the first activity, right? And then you can have a lot of automation in between, right? You can think it of a code which you have written, then you have a lot of automation and then you actually go and end the process. Okay, so this is a sample process, guys, which I am going to utilize into my orchestrator to run it in an unattended mode. Okay, now the first thing first is you need to remember where you are actually connected to, right? So if you can see here into my, I'm connected to this workspace which is the community account and I have one folder which is the shared folder which this guy is currently connected to, right? This is important. Please note this information very well, that where you are connected. In case you want to change, you can just change it from here. Okay, this would be useful when we actually set up the unattended license. Okay, if I go to my now UiPath assistant, I just quickly want to showcase that to you as well. Okay, so this is my UiPath assistant. Okay, if I go to this preferences, you would see here into the orchestrator setting, I am connected using cloud.uipath.com. It says connected and it is licensed, right? But this is not a unattended license, and I hope you guys are connected in a similar way. Okay. Now to set up the unattended license, we simply go to the cloud account, which is the cloud.uipath.com, and sign in with the same email ID, right? Email ID is important, and we have seen that I have an unattended license. Okay. Now I'll go to the 9 dots and then I'll go to this guy, which is the orchestrator, because that's where we are actually going to set up the unattended license. Okay. Now into the orchestrator, you would see that we have this guy, which is the tenant, right? This is the actually the main tenant where you are supposed to have all the setups, right? Robot, machines, everything, right? So I hope you guys are familiar with the concept of tenant, folder, jobs and all, right? If you're not familiar, guys, I have a paid course which is available, which I'll post the link in the description. You can purchase it and you can actually learn more about Orchestrator, right? Just a quick heads up. Okay. Now at the tenant level, you would see that I am getting something which is called an unattended setup. Okay. Unattended setup, that which unattended setup you want to run. Now here you need to know two things. Whenever I say that I want to run the automation in an unattended mode, I need to tell UiPath Orchestrator that which machine I am going to use, because this is my orchestrator. In the complete world, there are a lot of computers. So when I say that I am going to set up an unattended robot, I need to tell this guy that which machine or which computer I want to run my unattended setup. The second thing which I want to tell is who would be the user who would be actually logging into that machine to run it in an unattended mode, right? So these are the two things which you would require: a machine and the username. Okay. So let's say today I go to internet and today I go to a marketplace and I got a new computer, absolutely brand new PC. There I want to run my unattended robot, which I see in the license, right? So now I go here and click on this guy, which is set up the unattended, and now it says that are you using the UiPath cloud hosted machines, or you have your own machine which you want to run, right? I am not having access to the UiPath hosted machine. I want to run it on my own personal computer or my friend's machine or my client or the customer environment, right? I go to the next tab, self-hosted unattended robot, and it is asking me what is the machine template. Now you told UiPath that yes, I'm going to run it on my machine, right? So now UiPath is asking you where exactly is the machine. So I say into the machine template, and then I say next, and here we don't have any machine as of now. So we are getting an option which says create the machine template. When I click on the machine template, it is asking me where is the machine name, which machine you want to connect, right? So let's say this is my computer which I want to run. So I'll just go to the command prompt cmd, right? That's how you actually can get the machine information. I open the cmd and I just type who am I, WHOAMI, who am I, and then it says that you are using this machine and this is your username, which is Mukeshkala. Okay, so this is my new computer which I am trying to set up the unattended license. So I'll just copy the name and I provide it to this one, saying that this is my machine which I want to run, right? So now orchestrator understand that yes, there is a machine into the world or universe whose name is this, where I want to run the unattended robot. Now it is asking you, you have one unattended license. Remember we discussed, I showed you in the beginning that you have one unattended license. It is asking me, do you want to allocate it one? Yes, that's what we wanted to do. In your enterprise account, you might have more than one unattended license, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In community, you get only one. So I'm allocating that license to this machine, meaning that in this machine I can run automation in unattended mode. Okay, and then I simply go here and I say next, and then it added the machine for you, which is here. Now all you have to do is just go select the machine and say next, and now you are in the robot account tab. So till this point we just told that we want to run in that machine. Now it is asking you what would be the robot account which you are supposed to use, right? So I go here and I say create new robot account, Okay, and then it is going to ask you some of the details. So first thing is, it's going to ask you what is your robot name, right? How do you want to identify that which robot you have allocated for unattended? Okay, so you can name it as anything, right? So I just go here and I say tutorials by Mukesh Kala, and I can just say like this, right? So I say tutorial by Mukesh Kala underscore unattended robot, right? You can name it anything. This is just an identifier. Okay, so we say that I want to create a robot by this name, and then it is asking you what is the domain / username. Now this is important. For this you again have to go back to the CMD and whatever you get from who am I, right? Last time we only provided the machine name, but this time I have to provide this complete thing, right? So to copy this, you can select it, hit enter, and that should copy that for you. You come back here into the domain / username and you put whatever you get on the CMD by typing who am I. Okay, now I have given that I am going to use this username, right? But this is something which I can easily copy from your machine, right? So for example, you have your PC, I got your PC name, and I can just put here, right? Orchestrator cannot just simply authenticate it whether this is the correct machine and you are the correct owner. The only way of the authentication is the password, right? Because if I just know your username, let's say your new username is ABCD, I just come here ABCD, that does not allow me to run my automation on your machine, right? So you need to authenticate it first. So for that you need to go and provide your password which you are using to log into that machine, right? So for example, my password for this machine is 12345. So I just go here and type my password 12345. If your password is something else, you just go and type your password here. Okay, in case you don't have a password, you can just leave this blank, right? But I hope you guys had a password. Okay, so now with this setup is done. You just go here and click on this guy which is next. Okay, and now it's asking me that okay, we have the machine. In that machine we allocated the unattended license. We have this robot which is going to work. Now you have to select the folder, right? Now this is why I told you guys to remember the folder you are connected and currently working, right? So if I go back to my UiPath Studio now, if you see here, I had this is my personal workspace and I only had one folder which is the shared folder. That is why I am getting the same option into my orchestrator, right? So for example, you are working in a company, client, or in your personal, you have different folders, HR, finance. Select the appropriate folder where you want to have the processes. Okay, so I go to the shared and I just say I want to assign all of these to this folder which is the shared folder, and I say assign, and that is now done. Assignment is done. But still this guy does not know whether that machine name which I have actually put is correct or not, right? I could have just write any name, ABCD number, it will still connect this. Still your machine is not connected and it says that the real-time machine is disconnected, right? So that means whenever you have to run this setup, the machine name which you have put, which is this desktop MUGR, in this machine you need to authenticate UiPath by providing the client ID and the client secret, so that UiPath orchestrator can go to this machine with this credential and run automation on your behalf in unattended mode, right? So the next thing is you need to go and connect this machine with this IDs, right? Then only it will authenticate, right? Otherwise just think, right, I just got your machine name, I put here and I am starting running, right? That does not work like that, right? So now let's go and try to put these details into my unattended mode. Okay, so for that I'll go back to my UiPath assistant. Okay, so as of now UiPath assistant is running into cloud account. That's what we are doing. So I go to the preferences, into the orchestrator settings, right? And instead of the service URL, I want to connect it with now these details, right? So all you have to do is sign out. Okay, and that will sign out you from the orchestrator and it will prompt you to again log in. However, this time instead of using the service URL, if you see into your cloud account, you have got the client ID and the client secret. So I go to the unattended, and instead of the service URL, I say that now I want to use the client ID. And now it's asking you, first thing is, what is your orchestrator URL? Where is your orchestrator? So now if you go to the top, this is your orchestrator URL, till orchestrator. Okay, you can open orchestrator in the new tab and you will still get the same thing, but since I have already opened it, whatever I have highlighted till orchestrator, I'll just do a Control C, copy, and then I'll go back to UiPath assistant and paste it here. Right, so this is my orchestrator URL. Now that orchestrator can have multiple machine. Which machine, which account? It's asking. That would be driven by client ID. This is the client ID. I copy on that, go back to this, paste the client ID. What is the client secret? Copy the client secret, pass the client secret, and then connect. And if everything is working as expected, you see this message which says connected as unattended, which means that my machine, this machine, is now capable of running unattended automations, right? You still don't have to trust me. We will run unattended automation and then we will say, right? So I hope you guys are able to follow along till this point. If that is the case, just comment down connected as unattended so that I understand that you guys are able to follow along, right? Once that is done, you can minimize this, and here you can see that now the real-time machine status is now connected. Okay, and then I just say done, and that's it, right? My unattended license is connected, and that I have given to this guy, which is the shared, right? Now if I go to the shared folder, okay, you would see that here I have a couple of processes, something which are available here. Let me just do a quick refresh. Okay, so now here I don't have any machine still in the shared folder, right? So I can go to the machines, right, and which machines you want to run your automation. So I go manage machines in the folder, and this is the machine which I want to run, right? Same machine, and I just say update, right? So that means that now my shared, which is this folder, okay, into the shared folder, if I go back to the home now, into the machines, I can see that I have one machine which can now run unattended automations. Okay, so now let's try to deploy the automation and try to run it in unattended mode. Okay, so I go back to my UiPath Studio, and you would notice one thing, that I am getting something which is called a robot error, right? So which means that the robot is not able to connect with the robot service, right? Because we just changed the cloud.uipath.com to my personalized URL, right? So if I go back to my UiPath assistant now, you would see here previously it was connected with cloud.uipath.com. So now if I go to the preferences orchestrator, though it is connected as unattended, but still this is not green. So to do that, all you have to do is just click on this guy, which is sign in, and then you would see that this is connected, licensed with these details, right? So now this is green. If I go back to my UiPath Studio now, you would see that this is now connected, right? Even if you still see the same error, you can just go here, click, and then you would have a refresh button here. You can refresh it and it will refresh, and then you will get it, right? Now this is my automation which is connected to the shared. In the shared folder, we have an license, a machine allocated, a user, everything is ready. So all we have to do is just go here and click on design, publish, right? Sample unattended process version is 1, and I just say publish. Okay, not changing anything here. Sample unattended process is deployed to the shared folder because that's where I am connected to. Okay, I'll say okay. I'll go back to my orchestrator, right, in the shared folder, right, into the processes. We just deployed the process whose name was sample unattended. To run the process, we'll just go and add the process here. These are all the basic details of the orchestrator, right? Nothing fancy. just go here, select which process, which is this sample unattended process 1.1. I say next, next, and I can just leave this to the default setting and I say create. Okay, so and I can close this. Okay, so I created a new process into this one, which is unattended automation, which is created. Right now, if I am able to run this automation from the orchestrator, that means, and I am able to get all these details whatever we have put, that means that my orchestrator is connected as unattended and we are able to get the results. Right, let's quickly verify that. Okay, so to do that, I'll just go to the jobs and I'll try to start a new job. Which process I want to trigger? The process is sample unattended process. Right now, it says that you want to run it on any robot, any machine, or specific one, right? So that entirely depends on your requirement. So for example, we just now have added our machine and our robot which we want to run, right? So in the drop down machines, I can see this machine, and here into the robot I need to select the robot which I created, but unfortunately I'm not getting that robot here. Right, and now you might be thinking we just assigned it to a new robot. Remember TBMK, the name which we gave, that's not visible here. Right, the reason for that is you have not added that user to the folder. Same like I have added the machine. You can just go here into this button which says assign a user to this current folder, click on that, and then what was the name? The name was TBMK, right, the unattended robot. Click on that. Now it's asking me for this user, what do you want to do? Right, so what are the roles? I want it to be the automation user which can actually run the automation in unattended mode, right? But I want it to also publish and develop the automation as well, right? That depends on your requirement. And then I just say assign. Okay, and then I just say I'll do it later. And then at this place it is asking you which host name you want to connect, right? So in this host name you can go here and select the machine which you have created, and you just go here and click on this guy which says start, right? And you would see that the automation is running and it completed onto this machine, right? You might have not noticed it. So for that, let me just go and open this one here. It was last run 10 seconds ago. So I can just go and if I just say restart, right, the same setup, and I just say start, you would see that the command coming to this one sample unattended, and it's less than 5 seconds ago, right? And then to validate, you can just go on this 3 dots and say view logs, and you would see that this is the first activity, lot of automation and process, which means that I am able to run the automation in an unattended mode, right? So that is how you actually go and set up the unattended license, right? Now here are a few things which I want you guys to know about, so that you, if you face any other difficulty, how you can do that. Okay, so the basic setup is absolutely simple, right? You need to have a machine into the orchestrator. That machine needs to have an unattended license, right? So first you need to validate whether you have a machine and that machine have an unattended license. Okay, the second thing is you need to have a user who can actually run the unattended robot, right? So for that I go to the same folder and then I go to the home. Into that folder you have users, right? So you have machine which have licenses, and then you need to have one user which you can run the unattended licenses, right? So this user was missing, so I added this user here, right? In your organization or in your current setup, right, you might have different roles here. You can also add the user to a specific group. So for example, if you see here, we already had this group of automation developers, and let's say this one automation user, right, which is a local group. So I could have also added this user into that group, and that group could actually go and run this. Now whenever you are running the automations, any automation or setting up the trigger or anything, right, when you go to the jobs, you have this option here, any user, any account, or any machine. This is a good kind of a setting, which in case you don't want to take a headache of selecting all this individual land, you can just say that whichever robot is available, just go and run this. Whichever machine is available, just go and run it. Since you are running on community edition, you would have only one license, so this thing works for you, any robot, any license. But in case you are on enterprise and you have more than one licenses, that you need to be cautious, right? So this is the new kind of setup which is available, kind of a bit easy, removes a lot of hassle, but still you need to know the basics, right? Which is, you need to have a machine with unattended license, you need to have a user which can actually run unattended licenses or unattended robot, right? So with that, I would like to wrap this video here. I hope you found this insightful. Any more questions, any more doubts, let me know in the comments. Also, please comment down if you are able to successfully run automation in unattended mode or not. Okay, so I'll wait for your feedback. If you like this content, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video. Thank you for watching and happy automation.